People who stayed in a relationship after knowing their partner cheated. Why and how? I loved her, and I was desperate for love. And she begged and cried and assured me she'd never do it again. So I stayed. I couldn't make peace with it though. I was constantly jealous and insecure. And we began fighting a lot. Turned out she kept on cheating, so I did dump her eventually. You weren't jealous or insecure. You were recognizing familiar behavior that indicated her being unfaithful in the relationship. I'm sorry, man. I haven't, but have had friends who have. 1. Thought they couldn't do better. 2. Didn't want to upset the regularity of their life. 3. It won't happen again. It did. This is all unmarried, but in a relationship too. I imagine the situation gets much more complicated with kids/finance entangled. Same. Never happened to me, but seen with many. I had an ex who, when we were early on in dating, told me she'd cheated on her prior boyfriend. Honestly, I felt in the moment that if you'd tell me that up front, chances are you regretted it and wouldn't do it again. We broke up a few years later for other reasons. Not cheating. Now this isn't to say I wasn't wary when I was told this my LTR before her ended, because I caught the girl cheating. That one I didn't want any excuses, just slammed the door on the girl and didn't see her again. Overall, while I think cheating in your past is bad, I'm most concerned with how our relationship will play out and how you treat me directly. Some things I'll overlook for this, but knowing someone has a history is definitely a red flag. And if I'm cheated on, I don't need an explanation or excuses. Get out. It's not that hard to avoid having physical relations with other people. Fact is, it's normal for people in relationships to find other people attractive, but you have a special bond to your partner and agency over your life. There are no excuses, there's a commitment, and it's not that hard to keep it. Not like you were forced into the room with another person naked and just had to impale yourself to get out of there. Happening to a guy on my street. She cheated and was pretty unrepentant about it. No fault divorce state. He was primary breadwinner. Big disparity in their incomes. They have 2 children under 10. He talked to me and I said I would consider divorce. He said, imagine having to write a check for literally half of everything you have ever earned. Then imagine losing your kids for 50% of the time. Them just not being there, and you have to get permission to see them on the days they aren't with you, your own kids. Then he said he would have to write a monthly check to her, so that 50% of assets is really more of a starting point for a calculated difference in their incomes. That's before and separate from the child support checks he also has to write. There is also the very real possibility that he could be forced out of their primary residence. Divorce for fathers is a bloodbath. This divorce lawyer sums it up brilliantly, I think. //m facebook.com/story php story_fbid equals pfbid 02s muanupetus ijxlwb2 okgsdj5f5hdglqbqg5ddb33bp1s7xt2 drec7zl and id equals 100,059,685,484,304 and mibextid equals 2jq9ok. He cheated on me while my mom was in ICU with a brain hemorrhage. When he saw how it almost destroyed me, he was truly and sincerely remorseful. We had more difficulties after that, but we kept trying to make it work. He did everything he could do to regain my trust with no time limits set. He read up on his to help me recover. He matured into an amazing man and we are now married. He didn't ever cheat again. We are in our 50s now and have never been so crazy about each other. Sex is better than it's ever been, and he makes sure that every single day he is thoughtful, kind and generous towards me in some way. He's constantly figuring out ways to make my life easy and happy. Relationships can be difficult. I studied primate psychology at a leading university. Different primates have different sexual relationships. Bonobos, for example, are the most promiscuous. Apparently, humans are programmed to be "monogamous" with a tendency toward adultery. At any rate, I'm glad you were able to work it out. You gain more by working things out. Sometimes, I'm pretty sure my spouse would not be so forgiving if I were to misstep. Luckily, I never have. But we are all just humans trying our best. Depending upon the study, only 10 to 25 of couples who attempt reconciliation remain together 5 years later. Of those, only half make it to the 10-year mark. What are those figures for couples who haven't cheated? Irrelevant. Was genuinely curious how they compare. I'm against cheating as much as you can get. Then you can use a search engine to find if there are even any studies on the success rate of couples who didn't face infidelity and attempted reconciliation for other reasons. I found out my wife was cheating, and I ignored it because her family was planning this big Christmas get-together. Over the next few months I just collected her texting history and compiled it into a packet. She always said I was cheap, so I got it printed in color. During the handing out of gifts I gave a package to each one of her family members and one to her with divorce papers. I had my friends packing up her crap and they dropped it off on her parents' front yard. I had everyone open their gifts, told them what a cheating W she was. Told her she is no longer welcome in the house. Her stuff is on the lawn and the locks have been changed. The evening ended with a giant "go F yourself." I've done the whole tell his family thing before. I'd like to think I'd just walk away next time. But I take betrayal super personally, and as much as I'd love to be all graceful about it, I just want to cause as much hurt as I feel. Maybe I won't have the energy for it next time. I'm tired. I stayed for the sake of my kids for as long as I could, but you never get over it. I haven't, but as crazy as it might sound, when the ways housing costs have spiked, I have heard of a lot of people staying in relationships literally cause they can't afford to leave. I worked in the DV space for a while. It's even worse in that regard. The choice is literally stay in a horrendous, abusive relationship where my safety is being threatened, or be homeless. Sucks that this just seems to be society now. I did. I'll never forget it. It broke me like no tomorrow when I found out. But my situation was unique in a sense that we were long distance. She proved herself by moving over to the state I was in. Literally packed her bags and everything to come to me. Left her friends, job, family, etc. We are still together. However, I will be the first to admit that a commenter here said it best. That I truly admit is true. I believe I can't find anything better. I'm older now. I don't think I could ever find anyone better. If you were long distance, how did you find out? Paid for a portfolio for her to get into art school and for supplies. I myself in college at the time, and I was head over heels for her. She cheated before Christmas. Her friend told me, and I confronted her. She and her friend told me it was just kissing, and I said I needed time to think. I came home and decided to give it a shot to make it work. Took her on dates and whatnot. But the person I loved wasn't there anymore. So I moved her stuff into a spare bedroom, and after she got home from work, I broke up with her and kicked her out the next week. I loved him really hard. He convinced me he had good reasons to cheat. I forgave him. We carried on, but I was very, very sad. I did some crazy, regrettable things to keep him. Nothing worked. He cheated again and again. I'm sorry that happened. I see many people do it, and the cheating never stops. Exactly. Once they did it once, they're probably not gonna stay faithful. Yup. I don't know how people do things who are ploy. I don't think that there is ever peace. Any argument just brings back up the infidelity. You find yourself comparing yourself in all contexts. You can imagine looks, ability, etc. There's no trust or respect. The only solution I found was self-love, positive affirmations, journaling, breathing exercises, walks, therapy. I don't think it ever truly goes away. I even have to resort to breaking codependency connections that I feel at some level are needed in a relationship. Become self-secure and independent is the only solution I've found. Works takes a lot of personal growth and effort. I often get bitter because I had to heal me for her choices. But I learned a lot about myself. If I had to go through it again, I'm not sure I would. Causes so much division. You never look at them the same again. Also, then she gets insecure that I might choose to get even. It's hell. It's no wonder it's a major issue in a relationship. There's only one answer to this question. Insecurity. Men who have self-confidence, values, and boundaries don't stay with women who cheat on them. Why? Because they don't need to. Yes. It still hurts to leave the women, but when you know you deserve better, and you know you can do better, You don't tolerate less. Men who stick around are afraid to be alone. And afraid they might not do better. That's the uncomfortable truth that a lot of men don't want to hear. If you have boundaries, then you don't tolerate cheating. That's why it's called a boundary. It's not called a flexible line that changes based on circumstances. It's called a boundary because if you cross it, it's over. Not the answer you want, but if they did it once, they'll do it again. Leave them. Don't stay. I've had friends of friends that stuck together. Why is beyond me. I've had friends that ended it without a fight. I never delved into it too far. Usually kids were involved if they stuck it out, though some with kids didn't. I didn't stick it out myself, and we had a child. One and done here. Don't know how anyone can still care for a cheater. I really can't. I stayed because I loved her, and I thought it was truly a mistake. But it happened again and again, and she would never give up being friends with him, so it sent me spiraling down a self-sabotage hole in which I hated myself and everything around me. I never truly made peace with it until long after the breakup, and have since seen her and wish her nothing but the best. But once it happens, I promise the relationship will never be the same. He cheated on me, but we were on a break at the time. I took him back when he said my name at his wedding. Hello Rachel. Why? Because I detest divorce. In a way, I was desperate to say I was able to hold my relationship together. She cheated on me once before. Once we had our argument. I really just tried to put it behind me and pretend it never happened. But almost immediately after that event, she met a 15-year-old while playing Splatoon 2. Over the course of 2 or 3 years, while she was apologizing for cheating on me with the guy I caught her with, she was grooming this kid. When he turned 18, she flew out to cheat on me with him. Then, when I confronted her about the second instance of her cheating, she tried to gaslight me into believing that she didn't cheat the first time, and that I was the bad guy for acting harshly for her infidelity. She told me she loved this boy and packed her things. It all came to a head once she fled the state and filed for divorce. Realizing what she had done broke me. I tried to reach out and keep our marriage together, but it was like trying to hold on to water in a shattered glass. I suppose that explains the how. When I gave up, my rose-colored glasses came off. I realized what she did and what she did to me. I recognized her for her grooming, for her infidelity, for her lying, for her using me. She stuck around so she could siphon my money so that she could leave after I caught her the first time. I recognized her for blaming me, saying I deserved it because I was a narcissist. She said I was abusive and controlling because I didn't want her to talk to guys in ways she should only be talking to me. After I caught her several times flirting and sending nudes to guys online throughout our marriage. But I held on thinking that if I lost her, nobody else would want me. She also left a little parting gift in the way of an STD. I'm now happily divorced and have been for almost 4 years now. I now realize, via various sexual experiences after the divorce, that she was terrible in bed too. We married as virgins, so I didn't know she was as bad as she was. My ex-wife couldn't have kids, and now I have a precious little girl who is my world by a woman who basically worships me despite being highly intelligent, ambitious, and independent. Never be a cheater. Never stay with a cheater. If you've been cheated on, leave. Sure, it could work, maybe, but you could be wasting years of your life, like I did. I had already gotten revenge and had silently agreed we were now ENM and we could see other people. Saved us from a massive argument, and when she found out, she said fair point and we renegotiated the relationship. She asked why I didn't just bring it up and have a conversation. I said why didn't you? This burden's always on the man. He cheats. His fault. She cheats. Also his fault. I stayed with him because of 2 things. 1. He told me of his own volition. 2. It was a one-time hookup, not a long-term relationship / side piece. We've been in couples therapy for 3 years and it's gotten much better. Not gonna lie though, I've never fully trusted him again and it really sucks sometimes. He's also in his own personal therapy now and working on childhood trauma stuff. I'm in my own personal therapy, So yeah, we worked it out, but it's also irreparably changed, and we've spent tens of thousands on therapy at this point to just get to normal /view 200D. I think he's worth it. I guess only time will tell. Love's sake. But didn't work out. I had to end it. He cheated. I forgave. He cheated again. I forgave, but then I loved my unborn child more than him. He didn't want me to keep it. Things were not going well in many ways. I took off rose-colored glasses and said enough when someone asked if I needed help. I said yes. No man who respects himself would ever stay. Disgusting. Because I was young and dumb. Hadn't thought it through. Thought that I had incurred obligations because I had proposed. Right thing to do, blah blah blah. Thankfully my parents had an intervention with me 2 months later without knowing what had gone down. Best get out of jail free card ever. The feeling of the weight lifting off my shoulders was palpable. Well, I knew what it's not going great. I found out my partner was cheating on work trips. We were 2 years into the relationship and he's my first love. So, I just wanted it to work out. I'm on year 6 now, and the blind trust I had still isn't there. But instead anxiety has replaced it. To add another layer, he is a high-functioning alcoholic. My problem is, when I don't have trust in someone I turn cold. This has gotten to my partner and he broke down literally 2 days ago saying he isn't sure if we should continue the relationship. He was drunk and also expressed how he has resentment towards me now and how shitty I've become. From my perspective, I've just been trying to get through everything. But from his, I'm selfish and awful. So, we are both on the fence for next steps. He suggested couples counseling, which I suggested right after I found out. But he refused, and now it all just seems too late. Half of me does want to split so that we can both have peace, and the other half says maybe giving it one last shot could work. But I honestly don't know if I want that. Long story short, if they cheat, just leave. Take a couple days to cool off so the breakup can be amicable. But do it. I wish I had done it. Now I'm too invested and it's so hard to leave. Kids. I did this before, but only kept her around until I was able to have sex with both her cousin and her best friend. Not at the same time. Never happened. Thought the same thing. Some of us love to share, so my girl has no reason to cheat.